This was how Luis Figo was received at Camp Nou in his first Clásico, wearing the Real Madrid shirt in the year 2000. The emotional shock nearly tore the hearts out of Camp Nou's fans. Months after the deal was announced, they still couldn't believe that their star player and golden boy had betrayed them and left. And to where? To their eternal rival and archenemy. Luis Figo, who was attached to Barcelona and its colors, even dyed his hair blue and red. He would often act like a die-hard fan and chant with the crowd offensive songs against Real Madrid, like his famous celebration of the 1998 league title, a year and a half before his move to Real Madrid.
Yo creo que hay mucha gente que nos tiene que felicitar a todos por este triunfo. ¡Vamos, llorones! ¡Felicite a los campeones! ¡Vamos, llorones! ¡Felicite a los campeones!
Behind this historic move, there was a man named Florentino Pérez, an up-and-coming businessman, unknown at the time, who would later become the shark of football, devouring all of Europe, not just Real Madrid. The summer of 2000 came along with the Real Madrid presidential elections. At first glance, there seemed to be no competition. Lorenzo Sanz was on the verge of winning unopposed. He was the president who brought the Champions League title back to the Santiago Bernabeu in 1998 after a 32-year absence since 1966, the longest in the club's history without their favorite trophy. Not only that, but he won it again in 2000, just before the elections. It was a historic achievement, and Lorenzo Sanz thought it guaranteed him another term, with no need to put in any effort. Behind closed doors, Florentino Pérez was speaking with his advisors. The man nobody knew understood that defeating Sanz was a mission that seemed impossible. Pérez needed a bombshell to shake the capital and draw attention to him. There was news circulating in the Spanish press about a problem between Figo, Barcelona's golden boy, and the top contender for the Ballon d'Or that season, and club president Joan Gaspart. The relationship wasn't going well. Pérez learned this and realized he had found the fuse. He only needed to light it. Luis Figo wasn't a traitor in the literal sense. He was tricked by the smartest ploy in football history. Figo didn't want to leave Barca. Pérez didn't try to convince him to, but he gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. A preliminary contract with a release clause of 30 million euros. If Pérez didn't win the Real Madrid elections, Figo would receive that amount. But if Pérez became president, Figo had to play for Real Madrid or pay the clause himself. Figo didn't need to think much. Who is this Pérez guy? Who knows him enough to beat a successful president like Lorenzo Sanz? I'll sign, Pérez won't win, and I'll get the money. That's how Luis Figo fell into Pérez's trap. Just 5 days before the elections, Pérez dropped the bombshell to Real Madrid fans.
Si yo soy presidente del Real Madrid, Luis Figo, jugador del Real Madrid.
Now they knew if Florentino became club president, they would strike a painful blow to their eternal rival Barcelona by bringing their beloved star to the Santiago Bernabeu, and the rest is known to all. Pérez swept the elections, and the victory celebration included the signing of Luis Figo as a Real Madrid player. Thus began the Sharks' journey of complete dominance over the royal club, and the rest was history. In his first term, Florentino Pérez began his well-known Galacticos policy by bringing the best players in the world, not just to win titles, but to build a brand that would place Real Madrid at the top of global clubs, attract the best sponsors with the biggest deals, and make it the richest club in football. He brought Zidane from Juventus in 2001 for 77 million euros, a record fee at the time. Then came Ronaldo and Michael Owen. In 2003, Pérez scored another win over Barcelona by signing David Beckham, who was on his way to Camp Nou. But Pérez redirected him and delivered another blow to the rival. In Pérez's first term, the club won its 9th Champions League and 2 league titles. On the financial level, his Galacticos policy expanded the club's popularity in new markets, like the highly populated Asian market, leading to a significant boost in Real Madrid's annual revenue. Naturally, after all this, Pérez was re-elected in 2004 with a sweeping majority of 94% of the votes. No one from the Madrid fan base imagined everything would turn upside down. The Galacticos policy that took Pérez to the top would be the very thing to drag him down again. After the departure of Coach Del Bosque and the best defensive midfielder at the time, Makelele, the club entered a spiral of trophy-less seasons. 3 seasons during Perez's second term passed without a single title, despite signing expensive players. Everything was closing in on Perez until he resigned in 2006 after it became clear it would be another empty season. Following consecutive losses to Arsenal in the Champions League and Mallorca in the league, the same 2 competitions Barcelona would win that year, continuing their glory with Ronaldinho, whom Perez had rejected years earlier. But before his resignation, Perez knew very well he would return, and it would be a return with no departure. He had successfully planted a nail in the club that would hold him in place forever.
Florentino Pérez ya es de forma oficial presidente del Real Madrid.
Perez didn't stay away from Real Madrid for long. After 3 years, his return in the summer of 2009 was easier than ever. From that moment on, you would no longer hear about presidential elections at Real Madrid, not just because of Perez's overwhelming success, but because before his resignation, he passed a law requiring any candidate to present a €57 million guarantee to the club, making it nearly impossible for popular candidates within the club to run. This way, Perez won the 2009 elections unopposed and without competitors, being the only one able to pay the amount. Perez's return in summer 2009 came at one of Real Madrid's most difficult moments, facing a golden generation at Barcelona that had swept Europe and won a historic sextuple. He wasted no time trying to counter Barca's golden generation. As soon as he returned, he continued the Galacticos policy.
A Cristiano Ronaldo.
1, 2, 3.
By signing Cristiano Ronaldo, Kaká, Karim Benzema, and Xabi Alonso in a historic transfer window. In the summer of 2010, he signed Jose Mourinho, who had just won the treble with Inter Milan, and further strengthened the Galacticos with Mesut Ozil, Di Maria, and Sami Khedira. Things didn't go well in the first 2 seasons, with only a Copa del Rey title at the end of 2011. But it was a sign of reaping the rewards of the build-up under Mourinho, who won a historic league title with 100 points in the 2012 season, snatching it from Barcelona's golden generation. However, 2013 trophy-less season brought great disappointment. Real won nothing, Mourinho left, and Carlo Ancelotti arrived. Higuain and Ozil were sold to focus on Benzema and Modric, and the squad was reinforced with Carvajal, Isco, and Gareth Bale in a record deal. Ancelotti won the 10th Champions League title, bringing the trophy back to Perez after a 12-year absence. This marked the beginning of the second Galacticos success, one in which Perez seemed to have learned from the mistakes of the first. With the additions of James Rodriguez, Toni Kroos, and Keylor Navas, the outline of the Golden Team became clear, one that would dominate Europe for 3 years with a historic Champions League treble in 2016, 2017, and 2018. But after that golden period, the second Galacticos generation began to fade. This time, the conditions weren't right to build a third Galacticos the same way, as debts grew and massive funds were allocated to renovating the Santiago Bernabeu. Perez tried to compensate the losses with the Super League project, but it failed. The 3 seasons between 2018 and 2021 weren't great for Real Madrid. With just 1 Champions League and 1 league title, a new policy emerged. Perez started focusing on buying young players in bulk instead of ready-made stars. Players like Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo were brought in, and by combining the experience of Benzema and Modric with young, skilled players, Real Madrid was able to reclaim their favorite title by winning the Champions League in 2022 and again in 2024. Despite the changing circumstances, Perez hasn't changed. He continued building the third Galacticos by signing Jude Bellingham and securing Kylian Mbappe. Perez made Real Madrid fans forget the meaning of elections. News of him winning the presidency unopposed became routine. No one cared. Who even knows that Real Madrid held elections in 2013, 2017, and 2021? And who knows there will be new elections in 2025? No one dares to run against him. The man known as the Shark got used to swallowing all the fish. After 25 years of dominating the capital's top club, he managed to make Real Madrid the richest and most popular club in the world, build generations of Galacticos, and bring 36 trophies to the club's cabinet, 7 Champions League titles and 7 La Liga titles among them. Real Madrid fans can no longer imagine the club without Pérez. If you're a fan of the Royal Club, share with us in the comments. Would you like to see Real Madrid managed by someone other than Florentino Pérez? Don't forget to subscribe and follow.